Good day, everyone. This is Angel Brian Amoran, BSc English 1A. And for today's video, I am going to do storytelling. So without further ado, let's get into the storytelling. So the story that we are about to read and tackle this video is entitled, Who Took My Strawberries? This is a book about learning to share. Once upon a time, deep in the heart of the beautiful Italian countryside, stood a small strawberry farm. It was the end of a long hot summer, and on the farm, the fruit was ripe for picking. The countryside was full of activity. Neighboring farmers were ploughing their fields and looking at their animals. The strawberry farmer was happy as he looked over his own fields, thinking of the plentiful harvest. Then he saw some children from the nearby farms playing in his fields. Whenever they felt hungry, they ate a few of the delicious ripe strawberries. Oh no! The farmer began to feel angry. The children are eating far too many of my strawberries, he said to himself selfishly. Those strawberries belong to me. I don't want the children to steal any of them. He decided to build a fence around his farm to stop the children getting in. Sure enough, when the fence was in place, the children stopped coming to eat the strawberries, but the birds came instead. The greedy farmer didn't want to lose any of his strawberries to the birds either. He wanted to keep them all for himself, so he put a net over his strawberry fields to stop the birds eating the fruit. Now my strawberries are safe from the birds and the children, he thought. That the same night, after he had gone to bed, the farmer couldn't put his mind at rest. Thieves could sneak in and steal my strawberries by moonlight, he thought anxiously. The farmer lay awake for hours worrying about his crop, so he decided that the very next morning he would pick the ripe fruit from the bushes and take it to the market to sell. Bright and early, the next morning, the farmer picked the juicy ripe strawberries and loaded them into his horse and cart. He set off through the forest as fast as his horse could take him. By the time the farmer reached the market town, the morning sun was shining brightly. Other country folk were also beginning to arrive to sell their goods. The farmer drove his horse and cart through the gateway into the marketplace. First, I'll find a good spot, he said to himself. My sweet-smelling strawberries will sell quickly, every one of them. But when the farmer looked into his cart and he had a terrible shock. Why? It's because his precious strawberries had disappeared. Oh no! Almost every one of them had gone. The farmer was horrified. What a catastrophe! He exclaimed. Who took my strawberries? In fact, no one had taken the farmer's strawberries. One by one, they had fallen through a hole at the back of his cart. The faster he had urged his horse to run, the faster the strawberries had fallen to the ground. The dismayed farmer turned his horse and cart around and hurried back along the path through the woods. I must find them, he repeated to himself. I must get my strawberries back. But all along the way, the strawberries had disappeared. Some of his strawberries had been found by a family of hungry foxes. The farmer saw them enjoying the tasty fruit. In a nearby tree, a mother bird fed the fresh strawberries to her young ones. The farmer climbed the tree and watched as the little birds ate greedily. The farmer walked on sadly. Passing a neighbor's house, he watched a mother share a plateful of strawberries with her children. They sat around a table and laughed happily as they ate the delicious fruit. As the farmer walked slowly back to his horse and cart, he thought about the happiness his strawberries had brought to the animals, the birds, and his neighbors. It was lucky for them that there was a hole in my cart. He thought, perhaps it was a good thing after all. Gradually, the farmer began to feel happier about the loss of his strawberries. He realized that he had been selfish not to share any of them. And the next day, the farmer saw an unexpected sight in his field. His neighbors, who had all enjoyed his strawberries the day before, were coming to his house bringing gifts of food and herbs in return for the fruit. "Thank you so much for sharing the wonderful strawberries," they all said. The farmer was so surprised that he hardly knew what to say. He found himself inviting all the country folks to his house to share the gifts. All the neighbors gathered around his big table. They laid out the different foods and sat down together to enjoy the feast. "What a lovely party," said the farmer, feeling happy as he shared more of his freshly picked strawberries. "It's so much fun to share." And they all agreed. So now, what are the possible morals of the story? So let us find out. So first we have here, the story tells us being selfish is not much fun. People who are mean and selfish and don't want to share their possessions often make themselves unhappy, just like the farmer of the story. He was unhappy because he has no one to share his food. He was so greedy at that time. In the story, the farmer wants to keep all his strawberries to himself and doesn't want to share them with anyone. But his selfish behavior doesn't make him happy. He finds that even when he has built a fence and put up a net to protect his strawberries, he still can't sleep at night because he is worried about them being stolen. If we allow ourselves to become selfish and greedy, we will also make ourselves worried and unhappy. And we don't want that, right? Just as the farmer does. Second, looking after our possessions. In his haste to get his fruit to the market, the farmer doesn't stop to inspect and repair the hole in his cart. If he had taken the time to repair the hole, he would not have lost all of his strawberries. We are often in a hurry to do something or go somewhere, and we don't stop to think or to take care of our own possessions. But we should look after our things so that we can avoid mishaps like the one experienced by the farmer. And the third one, sharing. So in the story, the farmer doesn't intend to share his fruit, and the strawberries are spread through the forest only by accident. But later in the story, the farmer sees that his fruit has been enjoyed by the creatures in the forest and the people who live nearby. Instead of feeling sad that he has lost his strawberries, he is pleased that his fruit has made others happy. And this makes him feel happier too. At the end of the story, his neighbors come to share the food with him, and this helps him understand the true happiness that sharing can bring. Like the farmer, we sometimes want to keep what belongs to us all to ourselves. But if we learn to share, we will also understand the joy and happiness of sharing. I hope you enjoyed the story, guys, as this is a wonderful story that we can learn something from it to be a good person. That would be all. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.